Hi, my voice, my choice. Hi, all the people who are watching us. We are so happy to have two amazing speakers today with us. All of you know that My Voice, My Choice is loudly and proudly supporting flotillas which are trying to break the siege to Gaza. And we are so happy that we have today two amazing persons. One of them had the experience of being on the flotilla, and one of them is just getting ready to go there. So, firstly, I hate introductions, and I will just ask both of you to introduce yourself. Marlene, people already know you, but just for those who don't hear, you're not first time with us, and Tani's first time with us.
Okay, for everybody who has not already heard it 1,000 times, I'm Marlene Engelhorn. I come from the tax justice movement, some sort. I co-founded an initiative called Tax Me Now, where I organize with other rich people so that we use our voice and our power for tax reform, so that the extremely wealthy get taxed. I redistributed my inheritance accordingly. I tried to go a democratic route, challenging the power of the extremely privileged and wealthy folks. And I'm proudly joining the pro-Palestinian movement. I'm only active very late, so that is a criticism I want to say that I accept. Other than that, I'm happy that I can be part of the flotilla and hope that I can support Palestinian people in their struggle for freedom and dignity.
Amazing. My name is Tan Safi. I'm currently in so-called Australia on Gadigal country, always was, always will be, Aboriginal land. My family are from Lebanon, Syria, and great grandparents from Nablus in Palestine. I'm a documentary filmmaker. Always worked within social justice movements, documenting human rights abuses from human trafficking and child slavery in India through to the refugee crisis in Lebanon, Syria, particularly within Palestinian displacement communities. And I was recently on Handala for the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, but I joined the movement about 2 years ago, starting from Turkey last year. Mm.
Yeah, and you just came back. How are you doing? How was the experience? And why did you take the decision to go there?
I made the decision to join the Freedom Flotilla Coalition again. It was almost 2 years ago, so early last year for the Break the Siege mission, which was an attempt to deliver 5,500 tons of humanitarian aid to Gaza. The Freedom Flotilla Coalition exists because of Israel's illegal siege on Gaza. So once that was implemented, a group of everyday people came together to challenge and confront Israel's illegal siege by sailing to Gaza. And the first 5 boats actually made it through until Israel started to illegally intercept these flotillas. So it's been going for 18 years, and the Handala was the 37th boat. I prior to Handala, I tried to join the Break the Siege, as I said, but also the Conscience earlier this year that was bombed by Israeli drones off of the coast of Malta, just hours before myself and activists like Greta and Tiago were about to board. And then supported the Madeleine from the ground. And Handala was finally my time. I think with the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, we've grown in popularity as more and more people have heard about us, but it's always a process between working out who is best suited for being on the ground to support such a huge collective global uprising like this. It is not easy to get a boat together and a captain and to vet people, of course. There's lots of security concerns, lots of things you have to think about through to who can be best suited to actually going and sailing to Gaza. So this was the time, and I'm more than honored that it was that I was a part of it. It was absolutely beautiful, one of the most beautiful experiences of my life, but absolutely traumatizing as well at the same time. And I'm kind of just coming to terms with that slowly as time goes on. Mm.
We also saw that like after they stopped your mission that there was violence included and that there was violence included to very particular team members, that it was racist, that it was connected also with like what kind of passports people have. Can you also give some comments on this, because it is very symptomatic for what is happening?
For sure. I mean, Israel, the state of Israel is extremely racist in its very existence. It exists because it is able to work on a racist structure and systematic human rights abuses of Palestinians, of Arabs, of particularly Muslim communities. But as we know as well, they're indiscriminate when it comes to Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank, Christian, Muslim, otherwise. Of course, when you are Arab yourself, which I am, or someone of color, you are at higher risk because you are facing an entity that breeds and feeds off of this, of hatred and violence towards people of color. The state of Israel is known for its human rights abuses, even toward black and brown Israeli citizens. So yes, Chris Smalls, a comrade of mine, he faced violence once we were taken off of Handala at Ashdod port. About 7 or 8 men pinned him down. It was extremely horrific to witness. And as I was repeatedly asking about his whereabouts and for our lawyers, they began to act very aggressively toward me. So, of course, to rewind a little bit, the Israeli, it's like a special unit that they send out when they do these illegal interceptions, Unit 13, essentially. We were illegally intercepted while we were in international waters, right? So Israel has an illegal siege over Gaza in its seas, in its air, and on land. But you are legally entitled as a person, as a movement, as a collective to deliver humanitarian aid, as the ICJ has said repeatedly, as the UN has demanded for safe passage for flotillas like this, to deliver aid to a population that is being deliberately starved. So when Israel intercepted the Handala, our vessel, which had 21 everyday civilians, 2 journalists, that was completely illegal in its nature. And in any other context, that would be considered human trafficking and theft. They took control of our boat. They sent about 35 to 40 armed soldiers, all decked out in guns and GoPros, DSLRs. They started taking our things quite quickly, searching us, trying to separate us initially. And there's even a feeling now that we've kind of come back to land and spent a bit of time processing it, a feeling that we were drugged while we were being intercepted, because there was really odd behavior in the way that some of us reacted in such a state of hypervigilance, where very quickly after we were searched and our things were taken from us, people started falling asleep. And it was just really peculiar because if you see in the CCTV, for those who watched, we were sitting on wooden floors and there's metal rods poking into our backs and the waves were coming in and splashing on everyone, but everyone just started falling asleep. And I was one of the very last to do that, so I witnessed it. But because they kind of had balaclavas on, um, yeah, it feels as though we also saw like a fog surrounding the boat. So it also feels like something happened in the interim there. It was a 12-hour journey from the illegal interception to Ashdod port. And yeah, some time kind of just vanished from us in that moment. But as soon as we got to Ashdod port again was when the aggression started. And it didn't stop. It didn't stop. I was in a cell with the other women, but they were only aggressive and physical with me the whole time, from punching me in the back in the middle of the night through to stepping on my feet when I was trying to wear the slippers that they told me that I should be wearing, to holding me by my handcuffs and slamming me against the wall. They've permanently damaged my shoulder, my rotor cuff, in my right shoulder. So it's no surprise. And I think for people who have joined or who are about to join this next collective, we mentally prepare for the very worst because you have to. We speak about this in all the training in detail. And again, for those of color, people of color or people who are Arab or Muslim or at least are perceived that way, you will face higher risk and a higher face of violence, unfortunately, because again, that's just how they operate. But does it take it away from once you have experienced it? Everyone deals with it very differently. But yeah, as long as I feel like the one bit of advice I have for people in terms of kind of grappling with what violence they may face is just ensuring that they have support on the ground, no matter how strong you are, because we are, like I would say that again, I prepared for the very worst, and what happened to me was here, but it still affects you. So having some support on the ground, whether that's friends, but also, therapy or some kind of support system within the local campaign is integral. Really, really important.
Yeah, thank you for the explanation and sharing all of this with us. And Marlene and I actually, like, we kind of became friends on the day that everything was happening to you, because we were coordinating what we should post on My Voice, My Choice, how the things should be, what should happen. And also, like, you took your decision to join one of the flotillas because of the brave people who did this before. Do you want to share with us why you are doing this, and how basically this, I think that especially in these days when we have a feeling that there's so little hope, how those action of people who joined the flotillas before you woke something in you and basically show you the way where to go next.
Also, thanks from me for sharing and for giving all this insight. I feel very privileged that I get to listen to you right here, right now. And especially after the last time I saw your face was in the live of the abduction. So anyway, to get to your question, Nika, I'm one of these people, and I've been told by other people from the Global Sumo Flotilla from various levels of organizing that this is also one of the key element of this action, who were mobilized by it in terms of radicalizing my action taking. Because before that, signing petitions, writing emails, doing that kind of thing, everything rather quiet and rather private. I did all that, but I wanted more, and I didn't know how to, and I didn't know where to start, and I was overwhelmed, but I also remained overwhelmed, kind of not happily, but it was a cushion, because I knew that if I started to do things more proactively, that I would probably shift completely into it, which has happened. So I remained there. It's a level of comfort and privilege that I can literally afford to have. I'm not proud of it, but I want to make it transparent, because I'm aware of it, and I am aware of the criticism that unfolds that I think is completely righteous, and I accept it wholeheartedly. And so with the flotilla, it really showed me something where I thought I do have a name that is well known in Austria and in Germany because of my tax justice work and my redistributive work. And I thought, if that name can help protect people doing that, create visibility for this kind of action, I'm more than willing to put myself there, and also like to be put wherever I'm needed. Like if nobody wants me to be on a particular, like that's fine with me. If I'm not put on a boat, I'm happy to support whichever way. And this is one of the reasons I then immediately sent out emails and asked if I could join it, if I could support this this movement to break the siege, the illegal siege on Gaza. And I was mobilized, I was touched by this, and it gave me a perspective of very, very concrete hope in terms of what is needed right now. People are being forcibly starved and exterminated in genocidal behavior through the Israeli government and army. And to literally bring the food, the baby formula, the medical supplies, even toys to people who are suffering from the most vile crimes we can even possibly imagine, and more. Like, I think we only even scratched the surface of what is happening, like in terms of what we see. I think there's so much more that we don't know, don't see, that will completely destroy us once we find out. That's my personal take. But anyway, so to really just do this very concrete thing, to pack all that we can on as many boats as possible, to bring it to Gaza, to not give up, to also tell people, Palestinian people in the diaspora and in Gaza, everywhere, in every part of Palestine, that we are still seeing them, and that we are not giving up, and that we're trying our best where our governments fail and where our governments shamefully are complicit in a genocide, especially Austria and Germany, which are the governments where I hold citizenship, because our never again just is so hollow and so it's such a bigot sentence because it doesn't count as soon as you're not white and privileged and I don't know, from the western part of Europe or the United States, or maybe in Australia, then you like the white West, right? Like if you're carved out of that, it's a privilege to never again. It's a fucking privilege, and it's not a principle, but it must be. And civilian efforts such as the flotilla, are actually proving that people know better than their representatives and that they are willing to take action and to face the consequences, to prepare properly, and to show the world that when you carry nothing but aid, you will still be violently intercepted and abducted by the Israeli forces, which again is another point of proof that what is going on, what is being done, is so completely wrong. So I owe a lot of hope to the movement, the pro-Palestinian movement in general, but especially also to the flotilla. And I'm very proud that I get to be part of it and support in whichever way possible.
One thing that we also noticed with you is that there is a huge anti-propaganda against you. That a lot of attacks started on you, and a lot of fake news and misinformations. And I also think that it's important to speak about this. Do you want to say a little bit more about this?
Sure. The first thing that comes to mind is it is nothing compared to what the Palestinian people have to face and endure. Who are the people that we're doing this for? Right now, there is the smear campaign has started, I think 2 weeks ago or something, basically trying to portray me as a super Nazi, trying to connect my family to BASF, the company that was part of IG Farben, which created Zyklon B, the gas with which so many people, especially Jews, but also political opponents, disabled people, all sorts of different people, probably also racialized minorities. I don't have the full list. So many people were exterminated with this as a weapon, and they tried to connect my wealth to that. And there is a connection to BASF because one of my ancestors was one of the founders of this company, but he also sold it 20 years after in 1885. So that is for once not a connection, that they're actually, you can't establish it for this gas and this kind of extermination stuff. But my family still held a company called Boehringer Mannheim, a pharmaceutical company in the Second World War, and was complicit with the Nazi regime. So there is this, it's not wrong to say that there is a Nazi history in my family, absolutely true. And it needs to be worked out, and it needs to be dealt with also in terms of concrete proposals, reparative proposals, all of that. And there is work being done on this, but it's sensitive, so I can't really disclose much detail about it. But in any case, it's supposed to frame me as a super Nazi trying to, who's anti-Semitic and who's trying to endanger Israel in one way or another. And it's ridiculous. I'm actually proving that you can break out of these cycles of violence and of wealth and of power by redistributing wealth and power as much as possible. Now I hold a lot of power mediatically. I can redistribute it only to a certain extent because that's how media dynamics work, but I try as best I can. I'm happy for suggestions to improve that also. And I try to now take the visibility and not get myself completely taken down by this propagandist stuff that is being said about me that is very easily researchably correctable. That is a very weird English sentence, but I will stand by it.
Yeah, and also why I think it's important to speak about this is because it is showing what Israel is doing, what the government is doing, how they're attacking people, spreading fake lies, and showing a different part of the story. For me, it's about showing the mechanisms which they use to continue with their violence and to stop those efforts. I have 2 more questions. Both of you always mentioned, and we all are saying that it's about the people in Gaza. It's about what is happening there. It's about leaders who are allowing this. It's about taking actions. Each one of us is doing different stuff. But more and more, there is a feeling that nothing can be done, nothing which is enough, that the leaders will stop with the genocide and that they will put an end to it. So for me, the question is where you find hope, how to continue, and why. We all will continue, we all are continuing, but a lot of people is writing to us, what else can we do? Why we should keep doing this? Can we do something better? So what is your advice and what are your focuses in the next couple of weeks, months?
I remember on Handala last year, when it was in Malta, again, this is when it wasn't able to sail. I wrote something on the wall like, keep going for those who have no choice other than to keep going. We must continue our hope, and I always call it revolutionary hope, which I'm not the first person to say that. My cousin actually said that to me once, and I realized that's exactly what it is. When you first hear about the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, okay, before Greta, before Madeleine, it sounds impossible. But we have to try the impossible for it to become a reality, just like we have watched any kind of regime topple in the past. It took a few people or one person to say this isn't enough, and to act with such courage and determination and commitment that everyone around them at first thought that they were mad, and well, what about the risk? And do you really think this is possible? And they ignored that. And that is hope. That's what hope fired them and sustained them. And once people saw them sacrificing, because unfortunately, I don't agree that we should live in a world where it takes this much sacrifice in order for us to keep babies and children alive and fed. Like it's absolute insanity that this is what we have to do. That's the world that they're trying to create. But we must. And every sacrifice that everyone has made before us, every single revolutionary or creative that we admire, or filmmaker or artist, they had to lose things and can sustain their own revolutionary hope in order to create a future that has bettered our lives. We wouldn't be here without them. We wouldn't be standing here as feminists, as queer people, as even. I mean, of course, there's so much we have to work on, particularly for those of us living on colonized, stolen land. As I said earlier, right now I'm in Gadigal country. There was a genocide in so-called Australia only a couple of hundred years ago that no one speaks about, and children here are still imprisoned by a very racist system, Aboriginal children, very similar to the state of Israel. But if we do not continue, particularly for those who are new to this movement, let's think about the occupation of Palestine. We're almost, I mean, I always say it's close to a century because, it's not, it's like that's more accurate. Have Palestinians given up? No, because they don't have the luxury. They're not afforded giving up. They're only afforded life if they have it, if they're lucky enough to live another day. So we need to use that inspiration to keep going. And I'm not one to romanticize or glorify resilience or resistance in that way, because again, they're not given a choice. But every time we're feeling deflated or like we can't go, and of course we all are going to have those days or moments. I can't tell you how heartbroken I am. I'm shattered. But I always go back to all my friends in Gaza and Palestine and Lebanon and Syria and Yemen who are just going and continuing and wanting life and needing life so badly, and showing us what love looks like, showing us what community and solidarity really looks like. It has shaken the world to its core. All of us in the West who thought that we lived in free countries have realized we've been lied to our whole lives. And the diaspora, who has been screaming from the roof of our lungs for so long for people to wake up, are finally being heard. But we still need to escalate. We need to go harder. As you were saying earlier, protests aren't enough. Petitions most definitely aren't enough. So it's going to take something big. And this is exactly what the Freedom Flotilla Coalition has been working toward for so long. And Global Samud Flotilla, this amalgamation of movements and just, again, everyday people coming together, I believe is exactly the escalation that we need. And for those of us who can't join, we continue boycotting, we can continue pressuring for institutions to divest, continue pressuring our media and disrupting their finances, because ultimately this is what it comes down to. All they care about is money, power, and greed. So the most that we can do to strike and to get people to disrupt finances and block weapon manufacturers. That's all part of this same fight. And we can and we must. And history has shown us that it is possible. So it is.
Yeah, hard one to follow. I perfectly agree. What gives me hope is that I'm surrounded by incredible people working as best they can with all that they have, aware of the privilege that they can work from a Western country, in my particular case, Austria, in order to support Palestinians and to stand alongside them in their fight for their freedom, their dignity, and their right to decide what their land is, what it should look like, and how it should be governed, and all of that, which must be returned to them. It is theirs, and nobody is allowed to take it. This gives me hope. And the fact that once you start to escalate your activism for Palestinian people, but any kind of freedom struggle, really, like, I don't want to say that there is one movement you need to choose over another, but all these struggles, they're intertwined, they are related, and they come together. And this escalation is hope in itself. Action is hope in its pure hope that you can literally feel run through you. And it connects you to the community of people who are working together with the same goal and the same principles in mind and heart and gut. And so if you're still undecided or frightened, don't be. There's so many. We're just waiting for you. Join us. Be part of this. Start with petitions and protests. Maybe join a more active movement. There's so much to be done. We need so many more hands and eyes and ears and hearts aboard this. So yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm grateful. And thank you for telling us all these things, Tan. I thought it was really powerful what you said. It moved me deeply, and I appreciate it.
And I also think it's important to also emphasize like that there is this narrative, which is that if movements join the pro-Palestinian struggle, that something terrible will happen to a movement. I can speak from my own perspective. My Voice, My Choice was established as the pan-European campaign to protect abortion in Europe. And it grew much, much bigger. And when we decided to start pushing Europe with the people, resources, we have volunteers in every country in European Union to cancel the trade agreement with Israeli government. And when we started this campaign, so many organizers, so many politicians wrote to me and said, you are destroying your movement. With this decision, you are taking something away. Now you are so popular, and now you are standing up for something which is controversial. And I need to say that the opposite happened, that we got more people, more open-minded people, people who want to do something. We grew not in 10,000s of numbers, in 100,000s of numbers of people who realize that they can join and that this struggle is becoming mainstream in a sense that every single person, even before people were afraid of doing it. Now they see that it's only fighting for good. And we got so many new friends. We got so many new allies. We connected the fight. And also, I think that you cannot fight for safe and accessible abortion and watch genocide at the same time happening. And this is why I think it's extremely important to also say again and again, they want to convince us that it is risk-taking, that it is hard, that there will be troubles. Because from our experience, yes, it is hard, but also it brings much more important thing, which is that you are on the right side of history and that you are doing something that is important. So what I can say is that as a movement, we are continuing to put the pressure on European politicians to cancel the trade agreement with Israeli government, that we will use every aspect of our movement to support the flotillas. Marlene know that we will have like night shifts and day shifts, and that there is another group of people standing behind all of you because our struggle is connected. And thank you so much for talking with me. And let's do more things together until we succeed.
Thank you so much, Nika. And can I just add quickly, say for example, you were saying both of you have said pro-Palestinian, pro-Palestine. But it's so bizarre to me because all that we're fighting for is life and peace. So it's pro-humanity. It's not rocket science. We're just saying we don't want violence. We don't want children to be blown up. We don't want people to be deliberately starved in order for an illegal entity to steal land and steal lives. So, anything else that is said about us as individuals or movements, they're desperate smear campaigns, and we must remain focused, and particularly for those on the Handala or sorry, on any flotilla moving forward. Focus is key. There's always going to be noise. There's always going to be people on the outside trying to distract because they're so desperate. But these scripts are outdated. It's been done. We know why we're there. We're there for Palestine. We're there for Gaza. We're there for the wider region. And a fight against Zionism is a fight for the world. It is not just about Gaza. It is about the world. Zionism has its hands in so many human rights abuses that we are all fighting against. And as you implied, Nika, we can't be feminist without being humanity. So this disconnection that we have, whether or not it's, animal rights or climate change or feminism, this is all connected. It is the same thing. And once we see that, it's very, very simple. And may the people who are still unsure grow, mentally, grow their minds and hearts in order to see that we're not asking for very much. And there will always be people who will fight for love and fight for life, no matter what.
And also, one addition is that what we learned through abortion fight in Europe is that they try to convince us that we are divided on this topic. Like when we started the campaign, like people were saying there is this huge division. The public opinion is split. Like it's very, very controversial what you do. And then we did polling in all the countries in Europe, and we realized that the support for abortion rights is between 60, 70, 80%, which means that it's one of the most universally accepted topics, which also means that there is a very clear, how to say, the
Agenda.
effort to convince us that we are divided, while this is something which unites people, different religions, different genders. And I think that I agree with you. Like, I think that agreeing not to kill babies, not to kill people, not to leave people in hunger, not to starve them on purpose, to help each other is something that we all at the end of the day agree. And that here it's again the same pattern which we are noticing in other struggles.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you so much. I'm sure that we will talk again. I'm sure that we will fight together, and good luck with everything. And we are here. We are doing it with you.
Thank you so much. I just want to quickly as well show you guys the last toy, the only toy that we managed to get off Handala. We had hundreds of them, and of course the IOF cut them off with knives and threw them away. But this is our hope. One of them managed to come back to the colony. I don't know how. It's an absolute miracle. So let that be the guiding light for everyone.